everyone guys, welcome back to another video, and in this video we'll be playing F1 2016 mobile career mode. So let's just get into the video. So the first thing we need to do is select a team. The team we are gonna go with is Manor MRT Racing because well it was their last season, so just let's just honor them. It will be quite a challenge because they are probably the worst team on the grid. So let's just select our driver. We are going to be Rio Haryanto. I hope I pronounced that right. So the first race in this series is the Australian Grand Prix, the Melbourne Grand Prix circuit. I'm gonna do the practice off camera anyway. So I'm gonna keep some rules for this series. So the first rule is if we get terminal damage or we hit the ball too hard, we have to retire because that's how it works in real life. And we need to make it as realistic as possible to real life. And I'm gonna do the practice off camera, so we'll get straight into the qualifying. Now moving on to qualifying, our car setup will be simple. We are gonna use the default aerodynamic setup because well I found it was the perfect balance between top cornering speed, and so we need to get a 134.051 faster than that to get to Q1 Q2. So let's get on with it. So now we start our first lap for our qualifying. And the car was really understeered during practice, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes right here. And we crossed the line to start our first lap, and we crossed the line to finish our lap, and it's an amazing P9, amazing lap for us, and we go right up to the top. But unfortunately, our teammate doesn't make it through, but it's not a surprise, and by a large margin. I mean, like he's almost he's more than a second slower than the second last guy, which is F Nazar. So now moving now, what I have noticed in this car is really understeering, and I really don't like understeering cars. So you will see that in most of the season I'll be using a more of a cornering speed setup. But let's get into Q2. So we start our lap for Q2, hoping that we can make it to Q3. We did make it to the top 10 in Q1, but that was because everyone had slow times in Q1. So I really hope we can get to Q2, Q3, but that will be really hard. And we break on the first corner and we're really wide there. As I said, the car is really understeery. And now we go to this corner again and we go wide again. The car is really understeery in Q2, which is really not good for us because that will make it even harder for us to make it to Q3. So now we take a lot of curve on that turn, on that slight right-hander, but we take that corner perfectly. Now we've moved to the end of the lap. It really hasn't been best of the laps, but we'll see where we go. And P11 just outside the top 10, just 3 tenths off Massa, who is in P10, just out top 10. And we are going to come for another lap, trying to get in the top 10, that we can actually make it to Q3 and get a decent position. We come through the final couple of corners, just waiting how good or bad of a lap it will be, and it's a horrendous lap for us. We have actually lost over 4 seconds on that lap. I really don't know how that happened, and we go into the grass, and we'll be trying to get another lap in, but we unfortunately aren't, as the lap is really bad, and we get knocked down into Q3. But we still came P11, so that's pretty good considering our teammate was last. I think the car just doesn't have it in it. So let's move on. Moving on to the race, we qualified in P11 and Hamilton takes pole position at the Australian Grand Prix. Raikkonen third and Rosberg, Raikkonen in second and Rosberg in third, and our teammate is obviously last, as you saw. The setup we are going to be using is the default one which we use in qualifying, and the strategy we are going to be using is 6 laps on super softs and 9 laps on softs, as the tire wear on super softs is really high, so we are going to go 1 lap less or maybe even 7 laps depending on what the tire wear level is. So now let's get on with the race. We go to 5 red lights and away we go, and it's a really good start for us as we jump the race, overtaking him in the meantime, and we try and go for the dive on the outside. We're side by side with Vettel, but unfortunately we are unable to go with him, and we go wide on that corner as Ricardo loses a position to Vettel, and Bottas comes out of nowhere overtaking us, which allows Massa to overtake us too, and Hulkenberg is right behind us. We try to overtake us. We go for the dive and we overtake Massa, but we go wide, which allows Massa to re-overtake us. And it's been a really good start for us. We have gained 3 positions, and the Williams make contact, huge contact, and we take full advantage of that, and we overtake both of the Williams. And now we are looking at the back of Ricardo, hoping that we can catch up to him and make a overtake work. And we go for that dive on the outside, maybe even overtaking Ricardo, but unfortunately he pushes us into the grass and we are unable to overtake him. Now moving on, we have Bottas. Ricardo has a huge stretch and we will take full advantage of that and overtake him. He is having some troubles warming up his tires, but he takes the wide line and we try and use his slipstream to overtake him. We have pulled away from Bottas and the other group, and we go for a dive round inside, and Raikkonen goes wide, which allows us to overtake him. It's been and in the span of 1 lap, we have gone from P11 to P4, and at the end of the lap, Hamilton puts the fastest lap, and Raikkonen comes out of nowhere, overtakes us, and even Ricardo is trying to overtake us, but he does not, and we almost collide with Raikkonen, just breaking in time. Now moving on, Ricardo has for some reason been held back, probably because cars behind him try to overtake him, which allows us to pull away from him, which also allows us to try and catch up to Raikkonen, for which we can make an overtake to P4, which would be really good position. Now later in the lap, Raikkonen has a huge backhand step out, which allows us to close up to him, but not enough to actually overtake him, which would be great because we'll be moving into P4, which will be a lot of points for our team. Now, moving ahead on the straight, DRS hasn't been enabled yet, so we will be unable to make an overtake as Raikkonen pulls away in that superior car of his. His Ferrari is really fast along the straights, and DRS has just been updated, and Ricardo has a little bit of look on the inside, but we don't let him overtake as we go defensive, and Ricardo is again held back there. On the same turn, he was held back last lap. Moving on to the end of lap 3, we have actually managed to catch up to Raikkonen, and so has Ricardo managed to catch to us. But we'll have DRS through the straight, and Ricardo will do so. That should neutralize it, and he shouldn't be able to catch to us as the Mercedes power unit comes in handy. We go a little bit wide on that turn, which allows Ricardo to have a look on the outside, and he pushes us into the grass. Now, instead of gaining a position, we have actually lost a position. And Ricardo has a huge lockup through on that corner, and we almost collide with Ricardo right there, almost losing our front wing maybe, and moving later into the lap. We actually managed to catch up to Ricardo. We have a great exit right there, but we go wide, losing a lot of time, which allows Ricardo to pull away from us. But we'll be trying to catch up with him on the next right-hander. But he has a huge rear end step out, which allows us to catch up with him. And we have a look on the inside, but he blocks us off, and we have to take evasive action. Now we brake late on that corner, but we have to go really slow to avoid any collision there. And we'll have DRS through the straight, hopefully catching up with Ricardo, as the Red Bull isn't really famous for its straight line speed, but for its downforce. Moving on to the same corner on lap number 5, he has a huge left step out, and we have a look on the inside, but he blocks us off once again. The AI really struggled with that corner, so, and Ricardo actually comes into the pit really early on lap number 5. He's going for the undercut, and we really have to push hard from now if we need to make our overcut work and make his undercut fail. Now we come in on to lap 6, but we are not going to come in right now as we planned. But we are gonna go for one more lap as the tire wear really isn't that bad on this circuit as I thought it would have been. We are facing a lot of tire wear at the end of lap 7 and we go really wide at the exit of turn 13 which allows Hulkenberg to catch to us, but we go defensive on the inside at turn 14 and we successfully defend against Hulkenberg and we go wide at the second last corner and we are going to come in this lap as is Hulkenberg and we go into the pits hoping that we come out before Ricardo and not after him. We will be going on a pair of soft tires for the next 8 laps of this Grand Prix and all we can do now is just wait to see how things turn out when we exit the pit lane. We're not going to do any modifications to the aerodynamics as they have been working well for us and it's gonna be a average pit stop I would say, not the quickest, but as we come to the exit, Ricardo is right behind us. But for some reason, the AI is actually braking our car and Ricardo passes us. He actually gains some time on us. His undercut has actually worked. But if we hadn't brake, the AI actually hadn't brake on that on the exit of the pit lane, we would have actually been right up there with Ricardo fighting him as we exit the pit lane. But unfortunately, for some reason, the AI controlling our car decides to just slow down on the exit of the pit lane, which is really unfortunate for us as we could have been right up there with Ricardo fighting him. As we go really wide on this corner, which allows Hulkenberg to catch us and maybe try for an overtake, but we are going to defend and he comes on the has a little bit of a look on the left side, but we block him off right there. He doesn't have DRS on the straight, so he won't be able to catch to us. And we go defensive on both on that chicane, and we pull away from Hulkenberg. And moving on to the next lap, the start of next lap, Hulkenberg has again caught us, and looks like he's gonna be trying to make an overtake on us. He has a little bit of a look to the right and then to the left, but we go defensive on the corner and Sain comes out of nowhere trying to overtake Hulkenberg, which kind of allows to pull away, but not that really, and we go defensive on that turn right there. Sainz is pushing Hulkenberg, and we go wide, really wide on that corner as we have managed to pull away from them a little bit. Both of them are fighting each other for P7, but we are gonna take full advantage of this and try to pull away from them. But unfortunately, it's not working for us that well as Hulkenberg pulls away from Sainz and he's gonna be trying to make an overtake on us, but we again pull away from him. And Sainz catches up to Hulkenberg and he will be trying to make an overtake on him soon. But as you can see, both of them are fighting and we are just pull away from them, which will allow us to maintain P6 and maybe even bring the car home at sixth position. I think getting, I am not sure, but 10 points or 8 points. But as we go wide on that turn and defensive on the second last turn of the circuit, now Hulkenberg and Sainz have actually caught up to us on the straight as Hulkenberg will have DRS and he has a look to the right and he overtakes us as he has the overspeed on us. But we go for a dive on the outside. We give him this room to work with as we go really wide on that corner and we get the overtake done. And oh my god, if you didn't realize, if you see the top of the screen, you saw one of the dots just stopped. I think there has been a spin or an accident. I think that was one of the Williams. I'm not sure. But looks like it wasn't Hulkenberg and he's still hot on our tail. He will be trying to get closer to us and make an overtake somewhere between these 2 laps or maybe the next 3 laps. You never know. But he has pulled away from Sainz, so I don't think Sainz will be any way part of this fight for P6. As we move on to lap number 12, nothing really has happened, but Hulkenberg has actually caught up to us and we go a little bit wide on that turn. But fortunately, Hulkenberg actually stayed on the racing line instead of going inside or the outside, so which allows us to keep our position at P6. As we brake really early on the throttle early, we pull away from Hulkenberg. Now moving on to later in the lap, we go on to the main straight and Hulkenberg will have DRS which will allow him to pass us, but we can always gain that position back and he goes on the right and we go for a dive on the outside defending our position really well. Actually we have defended P5 really well if you look at the last couple of laps. We have been in this position for a really long time, defending against Hulkenberg almost every lap. So this really has been a really great race from us, an amazing race actually. Now Hulkenberg again closes up to us, but we go defensive, blocking him and not allowing him to get an overtake done on us. He actually doesn't have a look on anywhere at any turn. He's just staying on the racing line, which is weird. But I guess that's how the AI has been programmed in this game. But as we go on to the straights, Hulkenberg is having a look on the left, but we brake early and on the throttle early, and he makes huge contact with us. We send him into the grass, but he squeezes us into the wall and gets the overtake done. I was just talking about how well we have defended this position, and suddenly we have just lost it. Now, but Hulkenberg actually has a huge twitch of his backhand, which allows us to close up to him and maybe even get our position back. But as you can see, Massa has actually caught up to us, and as we have a warning that our rear tires have actually been really cooked up, and which means that our car will also be oversteering. But I guess that neutralizes understeering and oversteer. But let's see, we are right. We pushed Hulkenberg through that corner basically, but Massa catches up to us and he will have DRS and he'll be trying to get an overtake us on us, but we also have DRS which allow us to neutralize the effect and not allowing him to make an overturn. But we go wide on that corner as we pull away from Massa. I wonder where Sainz is. He was, I'm pretty sure, right ahead of Massa. I think Massa made an overtake or something. But as Massa tries to attack us, we defend on every single corner on the inside, that allows Hulkenberg to pull away from us, which is not really good for us as we were really hoping to get P5. As we move on to later in the lap, we go wide at that corner, which allows Massa to catch up to us. He may be looking for an overtake opportunity at this straight or at the next corner, but we block him off, and we will be going defensive on the inside at the next turn, just letting off us the throttle. But oh my god, Gutierrez just comes out of nowhere. Actually didn't see him until then. And he's actually the first of the lap cars we are going to approach. And Massa goes on the outside, but Gutierrez blocks him. So kudos to you, Gutierrez. You actually helped me. So, and he just comes out of nowhere. He's really aggressive for a lap car. He's trying to gain his position back. But he didn't really lose the position as we were lapping him. But he did help us defend off Massa, so I don't know what to say. It's been a really weird race, and we have DRS through this straight, so which should give us enough speed to defend against Massa. But he actually makes the overtake on us, and we go for a dive down the inside and give Massa just enough space to work with, and we once again successfully defend our position as we go wide on that corner. And Sainz has actually managed to catch us, and so has Massa. Now this is actually a three-way fight between for P6. As we go inside, and Massa just comes out of nowhere, makes contact with us, and goes into the grass. We have actually successfully managed to keep the racing line as Sainz catches us, and he might be looking to make an overtake on this turn, but we go defensive on the next left-hander and defensive on the next right-hander. But the tire was really getting us, as you saw the understeer we're getting on these corners. And I think we have it in the bag P6 as Lewis Hamilton actually wins the race, which is actually of no surprise as he did start on pole position. We go wide on that corner and Sainz right up at gearbox. He has actually managed to catch us really well and he'll have DRS through this straight, but hoping that we can actually get in P6. He comes on the left and it will be a photo finish as he overtakes us just before the racing line, and it's been an amazing race for us. We come home in P7, 6 points for our team. A really good race from us, and our team should be really happy as. But our teammate unfortunately comes in P19 as Lewis Hamilton wins the Australian Grand Prix. Rosberg is second, and Vettel in third. Raikkonen, however, he started second, but he's down to P4, and it's just been an amazing race for us and our team completely. But where did our teammate finish? Let's see. Okay, it was P19, which is not bad for like that. He started last, but for us it was really good race. We scored 6 points, which is great. And And Constructors Championship, we are fifth, which is really good for our team. And the first is Mercedes, obviously, then Ferrari, and then Force India. That's surprising. What happened to Red Bull? They're actually behind us, a long way behind us. For Red Bull, it really wasn't a good race. Like they got P9 and P10, Ricardo and Verstappen. It's been an amazing race for us, and thank you for watching this video. I'll be uploading a clean cut of this race, like the whole race without my commentary or any cut. If you wanna watch that, I'll be putting the link in the description below. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, share, and turn off post notifications. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.